The rain came down in sheets, blurring the world into a haze of gray and green. But I saw him clear as day. Jasper Kane, the golden boy of Lincoln High, standing at the edge of the football field with that damn crooked smile. My heart thundered louder than the crowd roaring in the stands, because I knew what he'd say next, and I knew it'd break me. "Don't fall for me, Riley," he'd whispered last week under the bleachers, his breath warm against my ear. "I'm straight. I'm Riley Parker, the kid who's always been too loud, too bold, too out for a small-town high school in upstate New York. I wear my pride like armor rainbow pins on my backpack, a sharp tongue for anyone who dares throw a slur my way. But Jasper, he's untouchable. Quarterback, prom king, the guy every girl dreams of and every guy wants to be. Or, in my case, the guy I shouldn't want but can't stop thinking about." That night, under the stadium lights, with mud on my sneakers and his eyes burning into mine, I didn't know our worlds were about to collide in a way neither of us could undo. It started 3 months ago, in the quiet of the school library. I was tucked in the back, sketching in my notebook swirling lines of a boy who looked too much like Jasper when he slid into the seat across from me. "You're good at that," he said, voice low, like he didn't want the world to hear him talking to the gay kid. I smirked, ready to fire back with something snarky, but his eyes stopped me. They weren't mocking. They were curious, soft, like he was seeing me for the first time. "Thanks," I muttered, my guard slipping just enough for him to notice. We started talking after that. Not just small talk, real conversations. The kind that spill out at 2 a.m. when you're too tired to lie. He'd find me after practice, leaning against my locker like it was no big deal, asking about my art or my dreams of getting out of this town. I told him things I hadn't told anyone, like how I wanted to paint murals in New York City, how I was scared I'd never be enough for my dad, who still wouldn't look me in the eye after I came out. Jasper listened, really listened, and it was dangerous how easy it was to fall for him. But he was straight. He said it himself, over and over, like a mantra to keep us both safe. "I'm not like you, Riley," he'd say, his voice cracking just enough to make me wonder. Still, I respected it. I kept my feelings locked tight, buried under sarcasm and forced smiles. Until the night of the homecoming game. The air was thick with the smell of wet grass and adrenaline. Lincoln High was down by 3, and Jasper was a force on the field, dodging tackles, throwing passes like he was born for it. I was there, sketching from the sidelines, my unofficial role as the team's art guy, giving me a front-row seat to his chaos. When the final whistle blew victory for Lincoln, Jasper jogged over, sweat dripping from his hair, his grin wide and reckless. "Come with me," he said, grabbing my wrist. I should have said no. I should have known better. He pulled me under the bleachers, where the world felt smaller, quieter, just us and the distant roar of the crowd. "You were watching me," he said, not a question. His voice was rough, like he was fighting something inside himself. I opened my mouth to deny it, but he stepped closer, so close I could feel the heat of him through the damp chill. "Riley," he whispered, and then his lips were on mine. It wasn't soft or sweet, it was desperate, like he'd been holding it back for too long. My hands found his jacket, gripping the leather as the world spun. For a moment, I let myself believe it was real, that he wanted this as much as I did. Then he pulled back, eyes wide with panic. "I'm sorry," He stammered. No, he can't. He turned and ran, leaving me there. Heart pounding, lips burning, and 1,000 questions I didn't dare ask. The next day, school was a battlefield. Whispers followed me down the halls, eyes cutting into me like knives. Someone had seen us. Someone had talked. By lunch, the rumors were everywhere. Riley Parker kissed Jasper Kane. Jasper Kane kissed a guy. I kept my head high, but inside, I was unraveling. Jasper wouldn't look at me. He sat with his teammates, laughing too loud, his eyes darting away whenever I got close. I wanted to hate him, but all I could think about was the way his lips felt, the way he'd looked at me like I was the only thing that mattered. That afternoon, I found him at the field, alone, tossing a football into the air and catching it like it could fix everything. "We need to talk," I said, my voice sharper than I meant it to be. He froze, then turned, his face a mask of guilt and fear. "There's nothing to talk about," he said, but his hands were shaking. "Jasper, you kissed me," I said, stepping closer. "You don't get to pretend that didn't happen." He looked away, jaw tight. "I'm not gay, Riley. I'm not, like you." The words hit like a punch, but there was something in his eyes, something that begged me not to give up on him. "Then why?" I asked, voice breaking. "Why did you do it?" He didn't answer, just stared at the ground like it held all the secrets he couldn't say. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the kiss, the way his hands had trembled, the way he'd run. I wanted to believe he was scared, not ashamed. I wanted to believe there was a chance for us, even if it felt impossible. But the world was watching, and in a town like ours, love like this didn't come easy. I didn't know then that Jasper was fighting a war inside himself, one that would drag us both into the open, whether we were ready or not. The days after the kiss were a blur of silence and stares. Jasper avoided me like I was a ghost, but the school didn't. Graffiti appeared on my locker, ugly words in black marker that I scrubbed off with shaking hands. My best friend, Mia, stood by me, her fierce loyalty a lifeline. But even she couldn't stop the whispers. "He's confused," she said one night, sitting cross-legged on my bedroom floor. "Jasper's not a bad guy. He's just scared." I wanted to believe her, but every time I saw him laughing with his teammates, pretending nothing had changed, it felt like betrayal. I tried to move on. I threw myself into my art, painting jagged lines and stormy colors, each stroke a scream I couldn't let out. But Jasper was everywhere, in the halls, on the field, in my dreams. I hated how much I still wanted him, how much I hoped he'd show up at my door and say he was sorry, that he meant it, that he'd choose me. Instead, he chose silence, and it was louder than any words. Then came the night of the pep rally. The gym was packed, the air electric with school spirit. I was there, sketching in the corner, trying to blend into the shadows. Jasper was on the stage, the team's star, soaking up the cheers. He looked invincible, but I saw the cracks, the way his smile faltered, the way his eyes scanned the crowd and landed on me for a split second before darting away. My heart twisted, caught between anger and hope. After the rally, I slipped out to the parking lot, needing air, needing escape. I didn't expect him to follow. "Riley, wait," he called, his voice cutting through the night. I turned, and there he was, breathless, his Letterman jacket slung over one shoulder. "What do you want?" "Jasper." I snapped, too tired to hide my hurt. He stepped closer, his face a storm of emotions. "I don't know," he admitted, voice raw. "I don't know what I'm doing, but I can't stop thinking about you." I wanted to scream at him, to tell him he didn't get to play with my heart like this. But his eyes held me, full of fear and something else, something that looked like love. "You said you're straight," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He flinched, running a hand through his hair. "I thought I was. I've spent my whole life being what everyone expects quarterback. Son. Boyfriend. But with you." He trailed off, looking at me like I was both his salvation and his ruin. "Then what?" I pressed, stepping closer, my heart racing. "What am I to you, Jasper?" He didn't answer with words. He reached out, his fingers brushing mine. And for a moment, the world was just us two boys standing in a dark parking lot, caught in something bigger than ourselves. But then headlights flashed, and a group of his teammates spilled out of the gym, laughing and shouting. Jasper dropped my hand like it burned, his face paling. "I can't do this," he muttered, backing away. "Not here. Not now." I watched him go, my chest tight with a pain I couldn't name. I wanted to hate him, but all I could feel was the ache of wanting him to be brave enough to choose me. The next day, the rumors got worse. Someone posted a blurry photo of us in the parking lot, our hands almost touching, and it spread like wildfire. By lunch, Jasper's girlfriend, Emily, confronted me in the cafeteria, her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "Stay away from him," she spat, her eyes blazing. "You're ruining his life." I wanted to tell her I wasn't the one ruining anything. That Jasper was the one who kissed me, who looked at me like I was his world. But I didn't. I just stood there, silent, as the cafeteria watched. That night, I painted until my hands ached, pouring my anger and hurt onto the canvas. The image that emerged was us, Jasper and me, standing in the rain, reaching for each other but never quite touching. I didn't see Jasper for days after that. He skipped practice, avoided the halls, became a ghost in his own life. Mia kept me updated, her texts full of worry. "He's falling apart. Riley. His dad's on him about college scouts. And now this." I wanted to reach out, but pride held me back. He'd made his choice, hadn't he? He'd chosen to hide. But then, late one night, my phone buzzed. It was Jasper, his text simple and shattering. "Can we talk? Please." I stared at it for an hour, my thumb hovering over the reply button. I wanted to say no, to protect myself from more pain. But I couldn't. I typed back, "Meet me at the field. Midnight." When I got there, he was already waiting, sitting on the bleachers with his head in his hands. The moonlight cast shadows on his face, making him look younger, more vulnerable. "I'm sorry," he said before I could speak. "I'm sorry for running, for pretending, for everything." His voice broke, and I saw tears in his eyes. Jasper Kane, the boy who never cried. I sat beside him, close enough to feel his warmth but not touching. "Why are you here, Jasper?" I asked, my voice softer than I meant it to be. "Because I'm tired of lying," he said. "To you, to myself, to everyone. I don't know what I am, Riley. But I know I feel something when I'm with you. Something real. My heart stopped, then raced. Hope and fear crashing together. What are you saying? I whispered. He looked at me, his eyes steady for the first time. I'm saying I want to try. With you. If you'll still have me. The night Jasper said he wanted to try, the world felt fragile, like it could break or bloom in an instant. We sat on the bleachers until dawn, talking, laughing, crying. He told me about his dad, a man who saw weakness in anything that wasn't normal, who'd raised Jasper to be the perfect son, the perfect athlete. He'd disown me if he knew, Jasper said, his voice barely audible. I reached for his hand, and this time, he didn't pull away. You're enough, I told him, just as you are. But the world wasn't kind to boys like us. The next day, the photo from the parking lot hit the local news, spun into a scandal about the quarterback secret. Jasper's dad confronted him at home, and Jasper showed up at my door that night, a bruise on his cheek and a backpack slung over his shoulder. I told him, he said, voice shaking but strong. I told him I'm done hiding. I pulled him inside, my heart breaking and soaring at the same time. He was choosing me, choosing us, but the cost was tearing him apart. School became a war zone. Jasper walked beside me in the halls, his hand brushing mine, but the stares and slurs followed us. His teammates turned on him, some with disgust, others with pity. Emily spread lies, saying Jasper was confused, that I'd manipulated him. But Jasper didn't waver. He held my hand at lunch, right in front of everyone, his jaw set like he was ready for a fight. I'm with Riley, he said, loud enough for the whole cafeteria to hear. The room went silent, then erupted in whispers. But I didn't care. For the first time, I felt seen, not just by him, but by the world. The championship game was a week away, and Jasper was under pressure. Scouts were watching, his future on the line. His dad showed up at practice, screaming at him to fix this, to deny everything. Jasper stood his ground, but I saw the toll it took, the way his shoulders slumped when he thought no one was looking. That night, I found him at the field, staring at the empty stands. What if I lose everything? He asked, voice raw. I took his face in my hands, forcing him to look at me. You won't lose me, I said, and you're stronger than you think. The night of the championship. The air was electric, the stands packed with a town hungry for victory and gossip. Jasper played like his life depended on it. Every pass, every run a defiance of the whispers around him. I was there, sketching from the sidelines, my heart in my throat. When the final whistle blew, another win for Lincoln, Jasper didn't go to his team. He ran straight to me, the crowd watching, the world holding its breath. He stopped in front of me, breathless, eyes blazing with something unstoppable. Riley, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I love you. And then he kissed me, right there in front of the entire football team. The stands, the scouts, the town. It wasn't like the first kiss, desperate and fleeting. This was bold, unapologetic, a declaration. The crowd gasped. Some cheered, some booed, but it didn't matter. For that moment, it was just us, two boys who'd found each other in a world that tried to keep us apart. The fallout wasn't easy. Jasper's dad cut him off, and some scouts backed away. But others saw his courage, his talent, and offered him a shot. We faced the world together, hand in hand, through the hate and the love that came after. I kept painting, pouring our story onto canvases that told the truth. Love isn't always easy, but it's worth fighting for. Jasper found his strength, not just as an athlete, but as himself, unapologetically. And me, I learned that love can be a revolution, a quiet rebellion against a world that demands conformity. Years later, we stood together in New York City, my murals on walls, Jasper coaching kids who reminded him of us. We weren't perfect, but we were real. And every time he kissed me, I remembered that night on the field, when he chose love over fear, and showed the world what it means to be brave.